For those of you who don't know me, my name is Amanda Benton. I'm an Assistant Director of Alumni Relations at Marist and a graduate from the class of 2011. Just wanted to take a few seconds to thank everyone for taking time out of their schedule to join us today for Friday morning yoga and Ayurveda. Due to the number of participants, we have muted all of the lines. You've probably noticed. You're welcome to turn on your video if you'd like to share it during the discussion in the class. But if you have a question for Amber during this morning's program, we ask that you type it into the chat box. I am going to put a Spotify playlist into the chat as well, which you can use, probably not right away, but when we start the actual session. And now I'm going to introduce our instructor for this morning. So our instructor this morning is Amber Gregory. She graduated in the class of 1997 from Marist, and she is the owner and founder of Amber B Yoga and the Wild, and the Wild Hearts Yoga School. She's a feature writer in the book, Structure and Spirit Moving, Smarter on and Off the Mat, a lead Ayurveda coach in the Sacred Seeds 300-hour teacher training, and a Cura Grace Warrior Ambassador for her 4th year. Amber is also a breast cancer survivor, mother of 2 children, and a lover of all things yoga. So Amber, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to pass it over to you.
Great, thank you so much, Amanda. I don't know if you guys pinned me as a speaker. I don't see it on my end, but I'm sure you've got that covered. So let me just switch to speaker view. Did you get that pinned, Amanda?
Yes, you should be all set.
Okay, awesome, good. So hopefully everyone can see me and see my mat. We're just gonna talk a little bit here in the beginning. As Amanda said, I have a Spotify playlist for class if you guys wanna listen to that during class, and also just have comfortable clothes on for this first discussion. Any water you might need. Oh, good, people are putting their videos on. That's good, because I'm looking up at the screen and I just see the outline of people. You know, it looks like a snowman head, and oh, there we go. So thank you guys so much for coming. And I was really happy last year to do this virtual offering through Marist with a yoga class last year. So it's really wonderful to have this virtual space, and I've really enjoyed the past year being able to connect with people from all over. So that's why I asked like where everyone's from, because you know it really has opened up a beautiful opportunity to connect with friends and family and people that we might not see on a regular basis. So I've been teaching yoga for about 14 years now, and I've been practicing about 18 years. And so I just wanted to quickly, you know, talk to you about kind of my approach in yoga. Yoga is really this beautiful way to find a multi-dimensional approach to not only our bodies, which I think really sets it apart from other things I've done physically, but it's also a way to really take a look into our minds as well as our hearts. And so it's a beautiful practice that I believe really allows you to learn some things and take those things with you off your mat. I always was an athlete. I played college softball at Marist. I could not believe the picture I found going through some pictures and of me playing softball. Oh my gosh, my daughter, I looked at my daughter and I said, wow, okay, this is why she looks the way she does. We look so similar. But, and then I wrote the year that the picture was taken in, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm 45 now, and it was late 1995. So it was crazy. But I've always been an athlete, and I've always loved, you know, doing things to really be fit, and it always made me feel good. I loved being part of a team. But, you know, a lot of my practice when I was doing these sports, although they were really benefiting me, I never really took what I was learning and brought it into my life. I just kind of went and played a game, or I went and I played field hockey, you know, whatever it was. And then I just kind of left that and I went on with my life. So what I love about this yoga practice is the multidimensional approach to mind, body, spirit, heart. And so that's yoga. And it's also the union. The definition actually is union to yourself and union to others. And Ayurveda is something that I've really been, I just finished a training in Ayurveda, and some of you might be new to Ayurveda. And so I just wanted to kind of go over what what Ayurveda is. And the language of Sanskrit, and I really want to honor and commemorate where this originated and where yoga originated in India. And basically, Ayur means life if you define it in Sanskrit, and Veda is wisdom or knowledge. So we have really the science of life. And basically, we have this beautiful opportunity to take the ancient Vedas, these are old spiritual texts from over 3,500 years ago, and take its wisdom that's rooted in those spiritual practices and texts and bring it into really, what we practice today. So the idea of Ayurveda is kind of taking not only our mind, body, spirit, that multidimensional approach of yoga, it's the sister practice to yoga, but also incorporating the environment, incorporating minerals and plants, seasons, things that really play a really big part energetically in how we feel, how we live, and kind of finding a way to live at our highest vibration. So I wanted to just go over that and kind of give you a basic idea of what Ayurveda is. And then I'll tell you, why I like it and why I study it. I, as Amanda mentioned, am a breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with breast cancer at age 35. And I have no family history. I've had all the tests done for mutant genes and things that, may have caused triple negative cancer for me, but it was not. It was environmentals based on my oncology team, 90% of environmentals. So, I started kind of digging in. I had my yoga practice and that was wonderful, but I really started digging in to kind of things that have made me maybe out of balance in my life. And so I want to just walk through what some of those things are, what they mean. You may have heard some of the terms if you do practice yoga or you've studied Ayurveda. But basically what we have when we're born, or at the time of conception, I should say, is this thing called Prakruti. And Prakruti is actually our constitution at the time of conception. So this is based on basically how our parents' health was at the time of conception. It even goes as far to kind of honor really astrology, your past life, things that were going on in terms of, again, astrologically, in when you arrived in the world and when you were conceived. And we all are made up of this beautiful kind of precious Prakruti independently and individually. And it's this beautiful natural state of health and joy. And sometimes we have imbalances during that place, which you may have heard of doshas. Doshas are that which is out of balance is the actual definition. And the three doshas are vata, pitta, and kapha. So these are all based on elements, and there are 5 elements in Ayurveda that we work with. So if your Vata constitution, percentages of Vata constitution, that's made up of air and space. So the Vata constitution tends to be a lot of movement in our yoga practice, in our life, our breath to create space. How we can relate it to our yoga practice, that sister practice. And then we have pitta. Pitta is fire. And then we have our kapha, which we're in kapha season right now, which is made up of earth and water. So earth and water, kapha is a really solid and strong constitution and really stable, like strong foundation. And sometimes like during this time of year, we can start to feel a little stuck because earth and water together makes mud. So it's really nice when we can incorporate all these constitutions and these kind of things that go on in terms of environment, in terms of elements, and we can find the balance that works best with us so that we can live our highest vibration, as I mentioned before. So what's been really nice is that we've had this great kind of fusion of Eastern medicine, which is over 3,500 years old. So Ayurveda yoga, over 3,500 years old. And then we have Western medicine that's about 250 years old. And we have this beautiful fusion. So for me, I was really thankful for chemo. I mean, we have vaccinations now available. We have things to us that we can really, once those pathogens are set in place, we can really utilize to help us kind of maintain our most optimal health. And then prior to that, we have all these opportunities to find balance within ourselves in terms of our health and how we eat and what we're utilizing in terms of what our personal constitution needs. And as we go on through life, what can happen is we can become out of balance from our natural Prakruti. So this is what we call our Vikruti. And this is when some of those natural things that we had at that time of conception, our constitution, can kind of change. And we start to feel, maybe things happen, maybe things show up, but we start to feel out of balance in different ways. And it's natural for this to happen with everybody. The external landscape, particularly this past year, has been extremely challenging. And things in life that happen, things that affect us, and energy and people and experiences and loss. And along with that, all this resilience that we have and courage. So what's really nice in this practice is complementing our yoga practice with things that are in season, nature's ingredients. And really incorporating it and making it this kind of holistic healing wisdom that really brings together yoga and Ayurveda, which I absolutely love. So I wanted to just say a few things as well, and I'm going to kind of just talk and then we'll open it up. So if you have something to say in the chat, if you want to jot down anything and then come back to it at the end, we can do that. But it's funny, I remember taking freshman year at Marist College, and I grew up in this small town in Vermont, and I was really sheltered is what I would say. So I went to Marist and I think I cried. And some of you who are as old as me might know, or as young as me, I should say, might know the Palace. It was this diner. My parents and I went to eat there. I grew up as an only child, and I literally went in the bathroom and started crying. I was so scared to go to college, and I went to college. And then I remember taking public speaking, and I was horrified with public speaking. I was so scared. I was so out of balance and out of my element. And it's so funny to me now that I do this. I love speaking and sharing what I love, and it's because I really feel inspired by what I do, and I live a life that actually parallels what I do. So when I leave my mat, I'm living that same life. And so it's pretty wonderful to kind of come into this space. And I wanted to just talk about that because, we all kind of have this, it's called a Sankalpa, and our Sankalpa is really interesting. It's actually our heart's desire, and it's an intention that comes from somewhere ancient in your heart. So sometimes when I'm laying down in my Shavasana or a meditation, it's always the sound of the heart, a voice of the heart's always going to speak louder than the voice of the mind. And even when you feel like I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to be this, and I did that for a long time in corporate marketing and things, I'm supposed to do this, it just didn't feel like it was actually my Sankalpa or my Dharma is what people call it as well. But it's the deepest desire, and it's the one that whispers, it doesn't yell, it kind of gets there when it arrives there without forcing it. And it's really connected to the divine heart. And I really love Sankalpa and this idea of, this journey and this multidimensional approach of first kind of looking within us, seeing what we find, and then being able to utilize that and living our best self and kind of relate it to our life and our personal constitution, which is going to be different than someone else. So someone else might have a lot of Vata, less Pitta, less Kapha. So, the goal would be through this practice is to really bring you back to that Prakruti, that original state or time of conception. And it's a really beautiful journey. And so I wanted to address that, and I know I'm bouncing around, but I just wanted to make it really casual. The other thing that's really important is as we kind of come through life and all those external elements that come up and external landscape that can really shift our internal landscape, sometimes if we don't create boundaries. And I think boundaries, this year we've had a lot of boundaries that maybe we didn't want, but you know what? Some of them maybe we did want. If I'm being honest, I was okay with not going to any birthday parties for my kids' friends, which seemed to be taking over my weekends. And I was feeling already kind of before this pandemic, like my heart didn't really want to go to any of these things, and my mind felt like it had to. So I was kind of living out of balance there. I was going on the weekend and kind of doing these things that I didn't really want to do. And I think that it's really special when we can start to realize that we're more important, and we take care of ourselves. And that's what a boundary is. It means that we have permission to say, I care more about me than I might care about this thing or this experience. And you start to really shift, and you have energetic boundaries that are wonderful. You have access to that. And you also have physical boundaries where you're actually not going. And then just action boundaries where, okay, I'm not going to this. And then I'm going to start to gravitate towards things that I really am following with my heart. And it's a practice. It's a practice because we feel like maybe, we need to be there for someone else, and that's fair. But we also need to realize that our worth is not based on productivity. So our worth is really important, and we can start to really fully love and respect ourselves, and come back to that sankalpa, and also that prakruti that I spoke about. So a couple things I just wanted to mention, how can you, I had a question like last week about someone asked me, how can you incorporate Ayurveda into your life, right? It doesn't mean you have to take a training. It doesn't mean you have to go to the library or the bookstore and grab a book on it. What it could mean one small change. Back in the winter, I made a small change where I like 1 cup of coffee a day. My husband does pour over coffee. It's delicious. I really treasure my coffee in the morning, and I was adding sugar to it, white sugar. And I decided I was going to take sugar out, and I was going to start to use honey. So it's using nature's ingredients. It's using the things that are seasonally available to us. And it's really amazing how that can feel. One small change can actually set the tone for so many things. And that's just one example. But using things that are naturally provided to us in our environment are really nice, and might really align nicely with what our body needs at the time. So I mentioned Kapha season. So in Ayurveda, there's different seasons, and we're in Kapha season, which is a time of year that falls between spring and early summer. And it basically, what can happen this time of year is you can feel a little bit sedentary if you're a little bit high percentage in Kapha. So the elements, the season can do that. And so we have some really nice things we can do to clear Kapha. And I'm going to explore some of those through our yoga practice today. Vata season, we finished up in winter. So that's fall and winter. And that's it's a light, airy time of year. So I actually felt a huge shift without even knowing that the season changed in terms of Ayurveda. I felt a huge shift. I had all this energy. And then somewhere right about early February, I was like, oh my gosh, everything felt heavy. Everything felt really thick. So it's important to honor and understand the seasons and how the seasons shift and how it might transfer to you personally in your constitution. So we can do things through our diet, we can do things through our body, and even our mind, setting intentions. We just had a new moon in Aries last Sunday. So this energy is very clearing and very fearless and uplifting. And so it's a really nice time to kind of, manifest and actually think about something you want to see more of in your life. So it's really wonderful study. I love what I do. And I always get, I kind of giggle to myself because, my family and a lot of people are like, this is alternative healing. They don't always do my classes. They don't really understand what I do. And, alternative healing that actually goes back 3,500 years ago. And there's something to be said about that practice that has been available so long, in kind of getting to the roots of those ancient Vedas of Ayurveda. is really special and important. And then also having access to this Western medicine, which is 250 years old. So it's really interesting how we can bring those two things together and hopefully find that holistic wellness that and balance that hopefully we're looking for. So I'm just going to check the time. I think we're probably right around 10:20. Yes, we're over, which I assumed we would be. So I just wanted to, and that went by fast, my goodness. So I want to make sure first that what I talked about today makes sense to you guys. And I want to also just give you a quick thing that you can do online that's kind of fun. I like Sahara Rose. She's an Ayurvedic teacher, and she actually studied under Deepak Chopra. And so you can go on to her website, iamsahararose.com, and you can actually take like a dosha quiz, excuse me. And it's really fun because it's fun. It changes. I've also had that question, like, do your doshas change, you know? And yes, they do change. And so that's why I brought up that Prakruti, because it is really nice to get back to that kind of natural constitution and that natural state of health and joy that we can all reclaim by, you know, just kind of utilizing some of these practices. So that's a really nice website to check out in terms of looking up your dosha, and then what happens is we're all different, right? So we all have different percentages, Vata, Pitta, and it might explain a lot. I know when I was first starting to study this in human design and archetypes, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, this makes so much sense in everything. And even the people that you might, that your partners, your family, your interactions, your communication, you start to say, wow, this person is in my life for this reason. You know, this is really nice why I'm gravitating towards these people and maybe not to these people. So it's really interesting practice and study. So I want to open it up now. I'm going to have Amanda maybe read the chat and ask some questions, or anyone can unmute and certainly ask me a question. We have about 5 minutes, and I know it can be a little daunting to kind of ask a question, but I'd really love you guys to open up if you'd like to and share anything. I'll look at the chat. There's no questions.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. All right. There's the website for Sahara Rose. Awesome. So no questions are out. So I hope that I want to make sure that this was, you know, maybe give me a little thumbs up in the chat or something if this was I had, you know, 20 minutes to talk about it if it was informative. And if you can kind of see the benefits of, you know, yoga as an industry it's just become huge. And it's funny, I've been teaching for a while, and it's really shifted and really changed. So I've loved seeing, you know, yoga start in schools at a young age. My kids are doing it. I really believe that it's something that every single person can practice. And it can be a pretty deep practice, but I do feel that there's such simplicity in our deep practice that we can take so much with us into our lives and also strip down a little bit and kind of get into, you know, the things that I have this intention that I've had of, you know, getting back to. Like, I have a picture of myself as a little girl, and there are kind of shadows that come up through life. You know, there are things that come up and we cope in a certain way. And I try to look at that picture for inspiration and kind of look back and say, you know, here is the most natural state of myself. And how can I remove the things that are kind of lowering my vibration? And I think it's important to do that shadow work. I think it's important to go through those experiences, and those are our teachers in terms of things that happen to us and how we respond. And the practice is really a call and response. You know, how are we going to respond in our best way to this practice of yoga and Ayurveda and live in our highest vibration and our best life? And it doesn't mean you're perfect. It means that you make mistakes, and sometimes you keep making those mistakes until that teacher finally works or not, you know? So it's a really wonderful way to live. I feel really blessed to have found it. I did not want to be a yoga teacher. I decided to do teacher training because I was in a really tough spot in my life where I had been laid off a couple times from my jobs. And I really just did it to find a healthy outlet. And that certain transformation that takes place, many of you might know, is just something I'm so grateful for, and the journey that I've gone through. And it's really helped me to manage things in my life off the yoga mat, right? So taking these things that I've learned and about myself, and also how I cope and things, and just kind of filling myself up in different ways and trying to live that healthy life. So with that, I would love to do a practice today where we balance our elements and do some kapha clearing and cleansing. I was kind of joking around with Amanda saying, you know, I just said we might want to let the students know it's an all levels kind of class to energize. So it is an energizing class today, and we're going to do some transitions also that may take you away from the camera. So I'm going to cue you, and hopefully the cue will be good enough so that you can actually not end up, you know, facing a corner in your room or something, right? But I want you to be playful. I want you to take back and reclaim that natural state of health and joy. Have fun. This is, like I said earlier, such a reward in our lives. It should be. Anything that starts to feel like a burden, I try to remove from my life. So enjoy yourself. And if anyone has trouble hearing or trouble with anything, please put something in the chat or unmute. I'm going to do one quick check to make sure that no one has any questions or comments before we go. Great. All right, I got a thumbs up. Okay, we're good. All right, so I'm going to have us start in seated today, and I'm going to recommend that you grab a bolster or a block, or bolster's pretty fancy. I know a lot of us don't have bolsters, but if you have a block or a pillow or your favorite blankie like I have, feel free to just place that down so that your sitting bones are going to come right down onto that support. And you're just going to cross your ankles. And the reason it's nice to have support is because what happens with our hips, and if they can be a little tight, there's less room for the hips to relax if we're sitting and the knees pop up. So when we have a block, it just kind of gives us this nice angle to relax the hips as we come into seated. So you can just kind of shift around, just finding your sitting bones, taking the fleshy part of the sitting bones, drawing them back. And then just kind of letting the belly soften here, letting the hips and the pelvis kind of roll forward very softly. And we'll just gently rest our palms on our thighs. And we'll just start to take a few deep breaths here. So take an inhale through the nose. And then a big breath out of the mouth. One of my favorite sayings, and I like to use in my own kind of content, is it is not about finding peace. It is about being at peace with what we find. And I think it's really important to just share that, because you don't just sit in a yoga class and arrive in a peaceful state. A lot of stuff comes up. And if the mind is busy today, maybe you even feel out of balance a little bit. I want you to just honor whatever it is that you find and continue to just fill yourself up with love and respect. Because just as many things that might not feel right, all the things that have happened for you to be here right now, it's really miraculous. So you can begin to just feel the breath enter through the nose. And you might take that breath all the way to the top and pause for a breath and then open the mouth again. You might pause at the bottom. Just a really short pause there. So just inhale. And exhale. And so beginning to move into Ujjayi Pranayama. And our prana is our vital force or life force. So our Ujjayi breath is actually a breath of victory. So victorious breath and feeling that victory, even as we arrive here in this moment. As you inhale through the nose, start to feel the spine lengthen and start to feel your heart lift. You can even lift your chin slightly and the palate, just kind of finding the natural curves of the cervical spine. And as you exhale, if you can start to begin that breath out through the nose. And I like to place my tongue between the soft and hard palate, right at the roof of the mouth. And this helps me to bring awareness into both nostrils to take that breath in and to connect with that ocean breath. So as you exhale, that rinsing and cleansing breath at the base of your throat. So you exhale through the nose. For those of you that are new to your breathing techniques or your practice, just make this simple. Just simply follow your inhale and your exhale. We'll take a few more centering rounds of breath here. And then we'll gently join our hands together at our hearts. You might take this time, and speaking of Sankalpa, you might take this time and visualize your heart's desire, your soul's desire. You might simply listen to your heart in this moment. And we know that there's this downward pull of energy as life happens, as things happen around us. But I want you to lift and rise up through this energy. Feel your heart gently draw into the thumbs. Feel your thumbs gently drawing into the sternum. Take another full breath. And then exhale, release your chin down towards your heart, bowing. You can open the eyes here and just bring your chin back to neutral. And we're gonna just come on to all fours. So I'll have you just plant your hands underneath your shoulders. And if you have, I know some of you are on different surfaces, so just make sure that your knees, you're not like knee bone on a hard surface, but you might pad your knees. You might have a thicker carpet or a mat that might work. And then from here, I'm just gonna have you walk your knees a little bit wider, join your big toes together, and we're gonna feel the resistance as we draw the hips back, feeling that downward pull of energy. And as we reach the fingertips forward, kind of tiger claw those fingers out in front of you. And then we're gonna inhale, just shift back up. So knees are a little bit wider than hips. And we're just gonna slowly start to feel that push and pull. And we're gonna use our breath to just guide us through this motion. So as you inhale, just draw your hips back. And then as you exhale, take the navel back towards the spine and just come back onto all fours. Good, we'll do one more here. and then moving back onto all fours. And then this time we're going to settle back into child's pose, Balasana. So we're going to let the hips softly come down to our heels. And if they don't, grab support if you need support. And then just let your forehead come down to a blanket or maybe your mat. Let your elbows soften and just take a couple breaths. So we have an inversion here, and this is a really nice mild inversion. But anytime our head goes below our heart, you can feel a little dizzy or lightheaded. So if that happens through class today, make sure you take a break or grab some water and just simply bring your head up a little bit higher than your heart. And then we're going to slowly start to come back onto all fours. Walk your knees a little bit closer. And we're going to start to walk our knees towards the top of the mat to meet our hands. And we're just going to curl our toes and find a forward bend at the top of our mat. So for this first forward bend, you can take your feet shoulder width or even wider. And you can use blocks here too. If you find that you're pretty tight through the hamstrings, knees are bent a lot, hands can come to blocks. And then just let your head hang pretty deep. So again, head below heart. If that's too much, take your head in line with your heart or above. But we'll make our way into Ragdoll. So Ragdoll, wrapping fingers around the elbows, kind of like you have a soft pillow for the head. And then I want you to really bring some awareness into the feet here. So each foot acts like 4 tires on a car, or each car. So we want to see if we're leaning into the pinky side edge, if we're on 2 wheels, or if we're on 3 wheels. But let's try to bring our feet onto 4 wheels here so that we feel the big toe mounds, we feel the pinky toes and the 2 points of the heels. And then soften and settle in so that the arch of each foot lifts, but the toes start to softly settle into the mat. Take another full breath, release your elbows, let your arms just fall down to your mat. And then we're just going to shift our weight to our toes and our heels. So when we work with energy and we work with the chakra system and also the elements in Ayurveda, we're working with the earth and water element here. So it's very grounding, and we want to start to build this stability and foundation in our practice. And that's that time of conception into the time in the womb and also when we're entering life. So just kind of feeling that connection and then settling in here. We're going to start to inhale. We're going to lengthen through the spine so that the forehead is parallel to your mat. The shoulders, the head, the neck is all a nice one long line. And then we're just going to exhale and fold again, head below the heart. So inhale, lengthen here. This is a halfway lift. And then exhale, fold. Good. And this next one, we're going to inhale, lengthen. I'm going to have you take your hands to your hips. So yoga's evolved quite a bit. It used to be kind of rolling up vertebra by vertebra. But what we find in yoga as it's evolved and in our bodies anatomically is we really need to strengthen that posterior chain. So our feet are strengthening. We're keeping our spine really long. We're keeping our back really safe. And we're going to take our hands to our hips and then hip hinge all the way up so that we have the support as we start to strengthen the back body. And we'll find our Tadasana. Feet will walk underneath our knees, knees under the hip bones, palms will face forward. And as you inhale here, just start to rock front to back and just kind of getting your bearings. Some days it can feel a little different, so really honor that. And then just settle into how you feel. And find a nice neutral anatomical position. I'm going to turn sideways so you guys can kind of see. We all know times where maybe we've been here, toes are out, we're here. So I want you to really think about zipping up through the midline, bringing your earlobes in line with your heels. Take a nice full breath here, exhale out of the mouth. And then take your hands to your heart, nice full inhale, and once again, exhale. We're going to release the hands back down to Tadasana, float the arms overhead. And then as you exhale, just take a swan dive. Knees are really soft, hands to earth. And then as you bring your hands down, we'll take another halfway lift. Inhale halfway, and then exhale, fold. Good. So I'm going to talk a little Sanskrit, but I'll always use English terminology so it's a little bit easier. Hands to hips for some of you if you're new to the practice, all the way up. Good. Find that neutral anatomical position, Tadasana. Arms float overhead. Inhale and exhale, bow. Take a nice full breath. Inhale halfway. Exhale, plant your hands. We're going to step our right foot way back. So when we work with lunges, these are pretty deep postures and prepare us for some of those bigger standing postures. So left knee is going to be over the foot here. We want to make sure we're careful with that alignment, and then soften your back knee, untuck your right toes. Again, you can take those blocks with you if you have them. And I want you to start to think about working a contraction in. So that left knee, this is adduction and abduction. Your left knee is abducting away from the midline, your left hip squeezing out, left ankle squeezing out, and then your inner right thigh wrapping in or adducting. So start to take a nice full breath here and then shift your hips back. So working that contraction in as we bend that front knee, bringing the body a little bit more vertical. And then as you exhale, stretching out that hamstring. So again, we kind of have that pushing and pulling equanimity in our practice, strength and length, keeping our bodies really safe. And the next time we bend into that left knee, we're going to work that contraction again and walk our hands up to our left thigh. So it's easy sometimes for people who are flexible to kind of sink. So this is me when I'm sinking in and I'm using length and no strength. But it's a little bit more challenging when we start to create some compression, which we want in our practice also. So like you're cinching your low waist, I want you to wrap that right inner thigh in and then abduct that left hip out towards the left side of the body. And then arms sweep overhead. Let's take a nice full breath. And then exhale your hands through your heart. Release your hands down. And then we're going to take our left leg and sweep it back. So we're in a half sunbird. Now here we want to dial our left pinky down. We want to make sure the hips are nice and square, and then take your right arm and stretch it out in front of you. So we're in full sunbird. We're going to just plug that right shoulder back into its socket. Forehead's parallel to the mat. Inhale, this is great for stability. And then exhale, elbow to knee. We're going to inhale, stretch nice and long. And exhale. Good. Inhale. Bring that gaze up and then exhale. One more inhale. So really hug it in on the exhale. We're going to stretch the arm and leg nice and long. Release your right hand down. And then we're going to slowly start to step our left foot to the outside of our left hand. So this is a pretty deep stretch. And you have the option here of lifting your back knee and tucking the toes, or you can keep your back knee down, okay? But we are gonna move here. So this is where we're clearing that kapha, finding some energy if we're feeling stuck. So I want you to move at a pace that feels comfortable. Hopefully you guys can see me. I'm gonna switch so you guys can see what I'm doing here. Left foot on the outside of the left hand. We're gonna take our right ankle and we're gonna tap our left ankle, and then we're gonna drop that right knee down and send our left leg back. Okay, so left foot to left hand, tap the left ankle with the right foot, right knee down, and extend. And if you wanna start to pick up the pace, kind of looks like this. Good. Use your breath here and move. And then you might play with a little balance. I love this. Kind of lift your hands, find your focus, little agility. Good. We'll do one more just like that. Pause. Good. Hands plant, left leg extends, inhale. Drop that left foot behind the right knee, bring your gaze over your right shoulder. Deep breath here. Side stretch. And then take your left knee, place it parallel to your right. Walk your knees a little wider, big toes join. Send your hips back. Keep your elbows lifted, the heart's pulling forward, the hips glide back. Elbows are raised for a breath. And then exhale, soften and settle, Balasana, child's pose. So your heart rate's probably increased a little bit. If you need water, grab some water. Kind of taking our hearts to the gym. And then when you're ready, slowly start to guide yourself back up. Good, find your tabletop. This time we're gonna add in a cow stretch. So inhale, soften the belly, curl the tail, and lift your heart. And as we exhale, slowly start to round. Good, and then from here, walk your knees up toward meet your hands. We're gonna tuck our toes and find our forward bend again. So top of our mat. We'll take a nice full breath, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana, and then we'll exhale, fold Uttanasana. As we inhale halfway again, use the four corners of each foot, tires on a car. Give yourself a little bit of breath here as you inhale, rise. Find your Tadasana, inhale. This is a blueprint pose for our practice. So just clean your palate. Bring your hands to your heart. Exhale out. Good, arms float overhead, inhale. Exhale, we slowly swan dive all the way down. Now, as you inhale, take your halfway lift. As you exhale, we're gonna plant our hands. This time, we're gonna send our left foot all the way back to the mat, towards the back of the mat. So root down through the left toes. Take a nice full breath, runner's lunge, right knees over the foot, and then drop your left knee down. Untuck those toes and point them back. Good, so from here, again, I want you to get that abduction and adduction feeling. So the abduction, you're taking that right hip, you're working it out towards the right outer right knee and right pinky toe, left inner thighs wrapping inward. And then we're just gonna slowly hinge front to back, okay? Just kind of creating this nice, safe practice for ourselves. Beautiful work in. And then next time, bend into your right knee. So now we're gonna start to use those lower abdominals, just working in the contraction. Hands walk to your thighs. Bring yourself a little bit more vertical. And then if you're comfortable, take your arms, float them overhead. And sometimes we can feel wobbly here. So imagine you have like your favorite joggers on, just kind of cinching at the waist there, so you feel safe. You can always bring the hands down if it's too much. Take another full breath. And then release the hands through your heart. We'll surround that right foot. We're gonna send our right leg back this time. So setting up for sunbird on this side. So tack your right hip down a little bit. This is where we want to adduct or wrap in towards the midline. And then take your left arm, extend, like you're shaking someone's hand. Plug the shoulder back into its socket. Inhale. Exhale, sunbird, little tiger flow. Inhale. Exhale. So this long line of energy as we inhale, reach beyond the fingers and toes. And then exhale, we reclaim that natural state of health and joy. Inhale. Exhale. Let's take one more. Inhale. Good, and just curl that elbow in towards the knee. We'll extend for a breath. Release the left hand down, cross the right foot behind the left here, and just take a nice side stretch. Deep breath over that left shoulder. Good, and then inhale, sweeps the right leg back to center. Step your right foot on the outside of your right hand. So we have this option again. You want to tuck your back toes for lizard. You guys can see me on this side. We're gonna move through that same flow. So I'm gonna have you with that left foot, you're gonna tap the outside of the right ankle, and then you're gonna step your left foot back, lower the knee, extend your right leg, inhale. Right foot steps, left foot taps the ankle, left knee down, inhale. So move at a pace that feels, again, really comfortable for your practice and agile. This is where my athletics and softball comes in, right? So kind of finding some balance. And then you might start to play with lifting the hands. Find your focus. Keep your gaze nice and long. Good, and we'll do one more. We'll take that right leg nice and long, inhale. We'll place that right knee gently down parallel to the left. Walk your knees a little bit wider, shift your hips back. Elbows are lifted. Crawl the fingers out if you can a little bit further. Another full breath, and then soften and settle Balasana. Deep breath here. Good, just kind of feel that energy maybe moving through the body, maybe shifting. And then we'll slowly start to guide ourselves back up to table. We'll walk the knees about hip width here. So we want to find that solid foundation. So tabletop, our joints are stacked. Now, if you find when you come into table that your wrists bother you, you can always draw your shoulders back a little bit so your shoulders aren't over the wrists. That's going to take some pressure off your wrists so that when we come into down dog, tuck all 10 toes, we start to lift our knees. We feel that this nice smooth length all along the top of the wrists. And then maybe lift your hips, extending through the legs, and you might start to separate your feet a little bit. But just starting to feel the benefits of this inversion. So again, if the head feels a little heavy like a bowling ball and you need to drop your knees here to adapt, I want you to go ahead and do that, or take a child's pose. But we're just going to offer a variation by bending one knee and then just lowering the opposite heel. So it might hover and not touch, but just kind of alternating, shifting your weight. Good, and just kind of walking your dog here nice and slowly. And then we'll come back to neutral. We'll lift high onto the balls of the feet, spread your toes, and then exhale, let your heels descend. Again, for most of us, they won't come down. The traditional way of down dog, actually the heels do touch. I know that's crazy, but I want you to just be really careful with the hamstrings. And then inhale, roll onto the balls of the feet and walk your feet to meet your hands at the top of the mat. Feet will stay hip width. We'll inhale halfway. Ardha Uttanasana will fold. Good. Inhale halfway, hands to hips, lengthen through the spine and rise up. Take a nice full breath. Even when the weight of life is pulling you down, hands to your heart. Exhale, inhale Tadasana. Good, we'll float the arms overhead. I'm just gonna add on a little bit. Arms fold all the way down. Take a deep breath, inhale, wave your spine forward with that breath. And then exhale, fold. Good. On your next inhale, we'll wave forward. I'm going to switch to this side of the mat for this transition. And we're going to lower the hips here and find our chair pose. So little non-traditional. I'm going to have you reach your arms out in front of you first, kind of like you're holding a block in between the palms, and plug your shoulders back into their sockets. And then see if your toes are lifting. And if they are, I want you to place each individual toe down. So we want to still feel the four corners, 4 tires on each car. We don't want to do any wheelies, right? So make sure you feel nice and safe and strong here. And then we're going to move. I was thinking of Carrie actually doing a little swimmer series. So sweep the arms back like you have that block between the palms. Good. And then inhale, sweep the arms forward. So legs in chair, just kind of hinging through the upper body, those shoulders integrated. Inhale forward. Good. And then slowly reach those arms back. Good. This time, arms reach out in front of us. Now we're going to reach our fingertips up to the crease where the wall and ceiling meet. Wrap your pinky fingers in towards one another. Breathe here for 3, 2. This awakening series, opening the back body. And then exhale, fold. Take a nice full inhale, halfway lift, and exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway, hands to hips. We rise, take a nice full breath here. Find your Tadasana. Arms float up overhead. Exhale, we bow. Taking another transition, adding it on. So inhale here. As you exhale, bend your knees, find your Utkatasana. Chair pose. And then take your hands to your heart Now, as you take your hands to your heart, we're gonna lengthen here. So again, thumbs are kind of drawing down, but our heart's lifting. We're starting to open our front line energetically. And then we're gonna slowly twist. So we're gonna take our right elbow and wrap it around our left thigh. Now, some of you might drop your right hand to a block. If you don't have the space to rotate and use the circumference of the rib cage to rotate safely, I want you to release the hand down, walk your feet wider. But we'll find a chair twist, reaching through the crown and lengthening through the tail. Knees are nice and flush. Now lift your right heel. Good, and then we're gonna take our right foot, bring your gaze to your left big toe, and then step your right foot way back. And you can use those toes to kind of root down, draw your left knee forward, draw the back of your right thigh towards the sky, and then rotate again. Crescent twist. Good. Now, nice deep breath. If you're clearing that kapha energy, lift your gaze. We're going to transition into something called skater lunge. So we're going to start to drop our right heel. You guys are going to move towards the back of your mat. Right toes spin out, left arm reaches forward. Good. And then we're going to switch. So go back towards the top of your mat. Right arm sweeps forward, left arm back. Left hip's nice and open. Let's do one more. Right toes open. Good. And then last one towards the top of your mat. This time, pop up your right heel. Take your hands to your hips. We're in a high lunge here. So make sure your feet walk wide enough so you feel like you're balanced. We're going to move into warrior three. So hands can stay at your hips or your heart. Shift your weight onto your left leg. We're going to float the arms back in Dekasana. Good. We're going to keep that adduction through the body as that right inner thigh wraps inward. Those toes are engaged for 3, 2, 1. Soften your standing leg. Step back. High lunge. Anjaneyasana. So take a breath here. Just clean your palate. Feel that energy. Another full inhale. And then hands bow through your heart. Release your hands all the way down. Step your left foot back to downward facing dog. Deep breath, exhale. Start to walk it out. Lower those knees if you need to take a moment. I'm going to switch sides for this next side. So from here, lift high onto the balls of the feet. Exhale, let those heels descend. Inhale, lift high. This time, walk your feet to meet your hands. Top of your mat, feet are wide. Inhale, halfway. Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, we bow. Uttanasana, good. Inhale, if you feel strong, you can sweep those arms overhead or use your hands at your hips for support. Exhale your hands to your heart, Samasthiti, equal standing. Inhale, Tadasana. Exhale out, arms float up towards the sky. Exhale, we fold. Good, listen to the sound of your breath. It can tell you a lot. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend those knees again. We're gonna reach those arms out in front of us. I'll face you guys for this. Plug those shoulders back into their sockets. Keep the knees nice and soft and buoyant, and then sweep those arms back like you have an imaginary block between the palms. Good. Good. Inhale, reach the arms out in front of you. Exhale, little swimmer flow here. Inhale. Good. Exhale. Last one. Inhale, reach those arms out in front of you and then find your full Utkatasana. So without flaring the ribs, reach the arms a little bit higher. Sweep your pinky fingers towards one another. Little peace fingers towards the sky. Nice full breath and then fold. Take a deep breath. Inhale, inhale halfway. Exhale, fold. Good. From here, we're going to slowly inhale. Again, root to rise. Maybe arms sweep overhead. Bring the palms together. Take a little baby back bend if it feels good. And then exhale your hands to your heart. Inhale, find your Tadasana. Exhale out. Arms float towards the sky. Exhale, find that swan dive. Take a deep breath, inhale. Exhale, fold, Utkatasana. So moving into that twisting series, arms reach overhead. Make sure those toes and feet, everything feels nice and even and safe. Hands to your hearts. And then we're gonna slowly lengthen here. Wrap your right elbow around your left thigh. Rotate here. Take a nice full breath. Good, make sure those knees are in line. Make sure, again, circumference of the rib cage feels safe as it rotates. And then lift your right heel. Bring your gaze to that left big toe. Beautiful. Take a nice full breath. And then step your right foot back. Find your crescent twist. And I actually twisted the wrong way. Step your right foot forward. Twist to the right, step your left foot back. I switched the side of the mat. I'm so sorry, guys. So start to rotate again. Left toes are rooted. Crown reaches forward. Nice full breath. Good. Draw your right knee forward a little bit. Press through the back of that left thigh. And then we're going to transition into skater. So I'm going to have you move towards the back of your mat. Left toes reach out. Right arm sweeps forward. And then we're going to move towards the back of the mat, from the mat. Right knee bends. Good. And we'll do this one more time towards the back of the mat, the skater lunge. And then back towards the top of the mat. This time, pop up your left heel, hands to hips. And just kind of center your hips here. Maybe stagger your feet. We'll make our way into warrior three. Hands can come to your heart. Maybe mirror what you did on the other side. Shift your weight onto the right leg. Deep breath here. Good, hold here for 3. Use the mound of that right big toe to steady you for 2. One more inhale. And then lightly step back. Find your crescent lunge. Yeah, lift your palate here. Nice full breath. And then take your hands all the way through. Release them down, right foot to down dog. Deep breath in, exhale out. Bend your knees quite a bit. So when I transition up to my mat, I like to bring my feet about halfway up under the shoulders if you're hopping. So if you want to hop, shift your gaze between the hands. And then exhale, you can walk or take a wide hop. Feet are under hands and under shoulders, and then lengthen halfway. And exhale, fold. Good, inhale, root down, rise up. And exhale, take your hands to your heart. So I want to take a moment here to just the sacred pause. So we have this call and response in our practice, and it's important to really check in. So it's the space between the stimulus and the stimulation and how we respond to it. So you can take your hands into Tadasana or hands at your heart, maybe even your belly. Just tuning into that heart's desire. Good, and just opening the eyes when you're ready. We'll float the arms overhead. We're gonna add on a little bit. So exhale, start to fold. Inhale halfway. And as you exhale, plant your hands, step your right foot back and left to join. So plank is one of these postures in yoga. It's really our Tadasana, but it's a lot harder because we're holding ourselves up, right? So we feel that heart reaching forward, those legs pressing back. Keep your elbows so that the inner eyes of the elbows are drawing forward, and make sure you feel safe. If your low back's sinking, you might drop your knees, but try to take a few strong breaths here with the fingers spread. Good, take another deep breath. Inhale for length, and then exhale, lower the knees down. Untuck your toes. So you might walk your hands back a little bit just to make sure you're comfortable as you lower. You want to keep those elbows plugged into the rib cage. And we're going to reach our heart forward as we fold all the way onto our mats. So coming down, taking our right cheek to the mat, and then just walking your arms alongside you so that the palms face up and your heels just gently roll out to the sides. This is a nice time to really tune in to that prana, that life force when we're on our bellies, we can really feel the energy and feel our breath really moving. So we can work towards that balance in the individual and ourselves and restoring optimal balance within ourselves and optimum health. And it's also this time to really surrender and just receive. And I know sometimes we're taught that we should be giving. Giving feels like you're receiving. I always think about my breath, and you're really, when you take a deep breath in, you're really giving to yourself so that you can give to others and really fill yourself up. So just take a few grounding breaths here, and then just alternate bringing your left cheek to the earth. Good. And then let's take another full inhale, come back to center. And we're going to take our forehead to the mat. Now, as we come into this next posture, we're starting to work into back bends here. We have to prepare for those safely. So I want you to just take your toenails, so the shoelace side of each foot, and really press that side of each foot into the mat. Even spread your toes. And then see if you can walk your hands just underneath your elbow points. Again, plug those elbows in towards the rib cage. Lift your knees now as you feel that energy moving up the backside, that posterior chain. Firm your thighs. And then I'm going to have you draw your pubic bone down. And then as you inhale, see if you can start to reach your head forward. So sometimes we get a little curious and kind of overextend through the neck. So keep your forehead parallel to the mat, but lift up and just feel beautiful stability. So we're really strengthening the middle thoracic here. Another full breath, and then slowly start to release down. Walk your hands under your shoulders for support. Take an inhale. As you exhale, keeping forehead, shoulders, spine in one long line. Exhale through table. And then tuck your toes and find your downward facing dog. We're going to play with a few more transitions here. So I'm going to have you lift your right leg towards the sky. Good. So we have a down dog split. And in this posture, we want to think about adduction. Again, that's wrapping inward towards the midline. So you can keep your left knee soft, but see if you can roll high onto the ball of the left toes. Extend that right leg a little more. And then exhale, draw your right knee into your chest. Lift your hips a little bit. And then step your right foot in between the hands. So we're going to come back up to that Anjaneyasana. Root down through your left toes. You can walk your hands to your thigh or just start to rise. Good, deep breath here. So we're moving from here into a posture for balance called Garudasana. So eagle pose. And as we come into Garudasana, we're going to take our left arm under our right, and then we're going to shift our weight to our right leg, wrapping the left leg around the right, sitting back into that chair pose. So here we're adducting once more. We're wrapping everything in so that the elbows and knees are stacked. The gaze is fixed. Good. Take another full breath. When you're ready, we're going to press out through that standing leg. Keep your eagle arms. Step out to warrior two legs with eagle arms. Align the front foot so that it's parallel to the long edge of your mat. Your back foot's parallel to the short edge. And now bend your back knee and just kind of wave side to side. So you're going to kind of start to feel where your pelvis naturally sits. And that's going to be different for all of us. And then once you're there, keep that back knee a little soft. Good. We'll extend the right leg. We're going to move into goddess legs. Keep your eagle arms. Toes turn out. Now we're abducting. So moving hips towards the outer knees, outer toes. Breathe here. Good. Lower here. Notice if you're shifting weight into the front or back of each foot. Beautiful. And then we'll slowly start to unravel. Take those arms overhead. Find your warrior two facing the top of your mat. Deep breath here. Soften your shoulders. Good. Soften your gaze. Flip your front palm. We're going to reverse our warrior. Right arm's going to wrap around the ear. Left hand can walk down the back leg or wrap for a half bind. Good. Feel that whole circumference of the rib cage, opening the space between the ribs, expanding. Another full breath. And then arms back into warrior two. Side angle, right elbow, right thigh. Use a block if you want to drop your hand to a block. We're going to use this left arm to create height away from the earth. Again, starting to feel that pitta energy, right? Fire, a little heat. Nice full breath. Left hand to our left hip. We're going to shift into balancing half moon. So you can step your back foot in. I'm going to show you how you can move into this with a block, or you can just use a wall at home. But we're going to shift our weight into that right leg, and then we're going to start to open up. So that left leg, that limb, we can't see it, but we know it's there because it's engaged. Left hand can come to the hip. Good. And then you might start to take your left arm and sweep it high. This is a tough one to lift your gaze. So you might just find a steady gaze here. Another full breath. And then soften your standing leg. Step way back into warrior two. Flip your front palm. Good. Now there's transition. So we're going to windmill the arms all the way down. Lift your left heel up. Left hand stays under the shoulder. We're going to step our right foot to side plank or Vasisthasana. So this is a pretty challenging posture. You can come onto your elbow. I'm going to show you a variation. You can drop your left knee. Give yourself a nice variation. You can scissor the feet. Deep breath. And then exhale, release the right hand down. Take a nice full inhale here. Lower the knees all the way onto your bellies. And my AirPods might have gone, but hopefully you guys can still hear me. Walk those hands under the elbows. Zip up through the inseam of the body. Inhale, baby cobra, Bhujangasana. Deep breath. Good, exhale down. Hands walk under the shoulders. Deep breath, inhale, forehead, crown, spine, everything in one long line. Move through table, find your downward facing dog. I'm gonna just check the chat and make sure that you guys can hear me because I know my AirPods just died, I think. So drop to the knees here, sound change, but yes, we can hear you, okay. So just find your child's pose, take a few breaths in child's. Might have to turn up your volume. Sorry about that, guys. I used these in my 6 a.m. and then charged them in between, but nice full breath. Bring yourself back into tabletop. Take a deep breath, inhale, find your cow stretch. Beautiful integrity of the spine here. So exhale, we round, we tuck our toes, lift our knees, lift your hips, down dog. So we want to find this integration in our practice of mind, body, heart. And just like our doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, those kind of flow and change. So we want to just find balance in all three things. Just supporting the elements, supporting our own optimum health here. And then on your inhale, we're going to lift our left leg towards the sky. Little down dog split. Again, keeping that left inner thigh wrapping in, so adducting here through the legs. Keep the right knee soft, roll high onto the ball of the right foot, and then draw that left knee into your chest. Good, and then step your left foot in between the hands. Beautiful, stretch through the back leg. And then you might start to walk your hands all the way up to that thigh, just kind of helping you up into your crescent lunge. So lunges are really, really strong postures in yoga, so I like to build into them. So just kind of finding a nice, comfortable space, preparing for our Garudasana, our ego pose. So We're gonna stretch those arms nice and long, and then we're gonna be taking the right arm underneath the left this time, and the right leg is gonna wrap around the left. So bend that standing knee. You can use your right toes as a kickstand here, but really center. Good. Really stacking elbows over knees, holding here. Beautiful. Take another full breath. Keep your arms in eagle. We're gonna softly step back to those warrior two legs. So adjust your stance. Left knee tracks towards the second toe on the left foot. And then bend your back knee and just kind of, again, wave your body into the position that feels comfortable. And we can even correct our alignment sometimes. There's really no manual that says you have to look a certain way in yoga. So it's more how you feel. We want to make sure that we feel safe. Good. Take another full breath, warrior two legs. Keeping those eagle arms, we're going to turn the heels in, find our goddess. Turn those knees out, tracking them again, hips, tracking out, knees tracking out towards the outer toes. Tailbone descends. Let's take another full breath. Good, and then unravel. Take the arms up, and then we're going to be in warrior two. Full warrior two, Garudasana two. So you can even bend the back knee and kind of try that again. Feel all that space through the shoulder girdle. Flip your front palm, reverse. Deep breath. Take another full breath. Arms back through warrior two. Find your side angle. So left elbow, left thigh. We want to lift out of that left hip. And see if we can keep our side body, find that equanimity. So side body's nice and long without collapsing, but lifting out. Good. A nice full breath. And then right hand to right hip. We're gonna step our back foot in if you're coming into half moon. So this is an option. You can also straighten your front leg. Left hand to a block. Maybe you're against a wall. Keeping your left foot at 12 o'clock. That's always a little sneaky thing. Our left toes want to move over to 2 o'clock. So find that optimal alignment. Good, and maybe reach that right arm high. Good, press through the pad of that right foot. Take another full breath. Beautiful. Soften your standing legs. Step way back. Find your warrior two. Flip your front palm, reverse. We're going to move into that side plank series. So arms windmill all the way down. Right hand is under our shoulder. Left foot steps back. Scissor stack the feet. Left hip lifts. Using all of these abdominal muscles through the side. Kind of 360s here. 60 degrees. Intercostals, obliques. Breathe. Find your variation if you need to. One more breath. And then release your left hand down. So we can lower the knees here, or as one integrated movement or muscle, you can move through Tadasana. So inhale keeps you nice and long. And then as you exhale, like you have a block under your heart. Exhale halfway. Inhale, sweeps the heart forward. Now pause. If you're in Cobra, going to lift the heart, even though you might feel that downward energy pulling you down. Lift the palate, the chin, breathe. Good. If you're in up dog, going to stay on the top of the feet, move through pointed plank. Draw that navel back towards the spine. Stretch out the top of the feet. Find your downward facing dog. Deep breath in. Exhale out. Good. Bend your knees quite a bit. Bring your gaze halfway up the mat. Exhale, walk or hop halfway up. Stay nice and soft. Inhale halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, root to rise. Exhale, hands to heart. Beautiful job. So, pretty challenging class, even though we're moving a little bit slower. So I'd like you to walk your feet a little wider. Wrap your hands behind your low back. If you have a strap at home, you can go ahead and use a strap behind you just to open up the front side of the body again, okay? So Nice full breath. We can interlace, stretch that double-handed fist beyond the sacrum. Open up the chest. And maybe not toss your head back, but maybe follow kind of the guide of the palate. Lift. And then knees are soft. We exhale, fold. Reach those hands away from the low back. Let your head hang below the heart. The yoga mudra, seal of yoga. Cooling off that pitta energy. Another full breath here. And then take those hands, softly release them at the small of the back. Let your arms just fall down to the earth. Take an inhale here, halfway. Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, we fold. Step your right foot back, your left to join. Deep breath, plank. Lower the knees, come all the way onto your bellies. So we're gonna move into another back bend. We're gonna kind of work our way into it. So prop yourself up on your right elbow. And if at any time you feel too much compression in your low back, I want you to just come into Sphinx Pose, which is elbows under the shoulders. You can even use a blanket underneath or just at your pubic bone. And that's going to give you a little support in your back bend or a pillow. So if this next posture is too much, it's half bow pose or Dhanurasana, you can certainly modify with something. We're going to bend our left knee, reach back for the ankle. My softball pitching days. It's really nice to reach for the inside of the ankle because that's natural rotation through the shoulder joint. So if you can do that and you do start to kick in, your shoulder's going to have a little more space to move. If you can reach only for the outside of the ankle, that's okay. Just be careful with how much pressure you put into the shoulder. So let's tap our left hip forward. Kick into your hand here. Start to lift the heart forward. Reach it forward. Lift again the palate. Take another full breath. And then softly release. We're just gonna maybe take this a little deeper. So you can pronate the toes here, kind of curl your hand around the top of the feet and take that left heel maybe towards your left hip. But you're gonna know if it's too much. So breathe into this. It's a really nice way to work on our back bending and prepare us. Take another deep breath here, and then slowly start to release the top of that left leg. Stack your hands under your forehead. Walk your legs a little wider, bend your knees, just like we need today, right? That windshield washing, windshield wipers. So just kind of wave side to side. And then back to center. Let the legs just softly come back down. We're gonna do the other side. Left forearm, it's gonna prop you up. You're gonna keep your hips nice and square. And sometimes we can tell in our body what's happening if we're kind of having trouble on one side. And we just wanna start to balance that out and just notice. So take your right knee, bend the knee, reach for the inside of the ankle if you can. And then maybe start to lift that right thigh. Keep your heart drawing forward, kick into the hand. Breathe here, root down to those left toenails. Breathe. Good. And then slowly start to maybe make your way into that bigger stretch. And please don't, if it doesn't feel good, pronating those toes, maybe drawing, sometimes I even curl my toes around the top and kind of drawing that right heel towards the right hip. Breathing. Make sure that breath is still diaphragmatic. Sometimes we just breathe in the top half, kind of the chest breath. You don't have as much space. Take another full breath and then slowly release. Let the top of that right foot come down, stacking hands, bend the knees, and then just again, windshield wiper those legs. So we're gonna come into full Dhanurasana. This is a great one to do on a stability ball. I have a stability ball. I think you guys can see in the corner that blue ball. You can lay on it, which is a really nice back bend with support. If you don't have that, then You can play with this. Again, you can use support underneath your pubic bone if you need a pillow there. That's going to actually give you a little more support for this back bend. If you're comfortable reaching for the inside of the ankles or outside of the ankles, we're going to, again, adduct. So wrap those inner thighs towards one another. And then we're going to start to inhale, kick into the hands. Moving into our Dhanurasana or bow pose. Breathing here for 3 and 2. Good. And 1. Slowly start to release all the way down. Let the top of the legs come down, your hands under your shoulders. Take a deep breath, inhale. Exhale. Move through table, find your downward facing dog. Really nice counter pose for back bending. If it's too strong, find your child's. Deep breath, bend your knees. Gaze shifts halfway up, exhale, walk or take a little bunny hop. Inhale halfway, exhale, fold. Good, inhale, we're gonna make our way all the way down. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, Tadasana. Exhale out. Arms float all the way towards the sky. We're gonna exhale, fold. Inhale, find your halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale, plant, left foot steps back, and then your right. Take a deep breath. Optional chaturanga here. Take a nice full breath. Inhale. Exhale, halfway. Inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. Deep breath in. Exhale out. And then we're just going to lower down to the knees. Bring your knees together this time. Sit back on your heels, and we can take our arms and just wrap them alongside the body so that our forehead rests on a pillow or a block, maybe the mat. Just take a few breaths here. And then we'll slowly start to come all the way up, shifting onto our seat, stretching the legs out in front of us. And then bending the knees. If you have that block, it's beautiful to lower with a block in between the thighs for support. Taking a deep breath, lifting the heart, and then exhale. And then curling in, preparing for rest and digest mode. We'll remove our block. We'll take our feet to the edge of the mat so that they're wide, the knees knocked together. And then just take the arms overhead for constructive rest. Take a moment or two here to a marked moment, maybe to move into a stretch, a twist, anything that you need before your final rest this morning. And then you might start to separate the knees and just take the legs nice and long. I love this little kind of excerpt from Ali Bogard. And it starts just, as Mary Oliver once said, keep the appointment. But make the decision to show up today and every day hereafter for the destined meeting you made with your soul a long time ago to live your life fully. Not the life that looks good on paper, successful metrics other than your own. Not the life that makes you contort and conform to fit in. Convinced that when you finally do, you'll matter. Not the life that seeks approval, love, and worth from everyone but yourself. Not the life that confuses productivity for worth and constant movement for real momentum. Not the life striving to be perfect while missing the inherent perfection and wonderment in ordinary moments. Not the life built on beliefs so fragile they cannot be questioned, nor an identity so precious
It cannot handle your mess, your mistakes, your wildness. This appointment is to live into yourself so fully that you grow yourself into a human whom you deeply love and respect. I invite you all to take your hands to your hearts, to tap into your heart's desire, to offer yourself deep love and respect here now. Sometimes you're the only one that can do that. Thank yourself for being here and for this practice, this time of reflection, this journey back to your Prakruti, your natural being and state of health and joy. Let's stretch our arms overhead, taking a full body yawn. Feeling in the goodness of our practice today, of the energy that you brought to this practice and shared with everyone here. We'll curl the knees in towards the heart, giving ourselves a big hug in fetal position and come onto our favorite side when you're ready. So when we come onto our right side, it's this yin energy. So it's taking this energy with you, moving through the day. If you want to come to your yin side, it's left, and it's a little more grounding and quiet. So just find your way up to seated. We'll join our hands to our hearts in Anjali Mudra. We'll take a deep, beautiful breath in through the nose. A full healing breath out of the mouth. As we feel any downward pull, I want you again to rise up, lift your heart as the thumbs gently draw against the sternum. Take a deep breath, exhale, and then guide your thumbs to your third eye. That's between the eyebrows, and in our chakra system, this is our intuition and knowing. It's our inner and silent witness. So honor that here. The spirit within me bows to the spirit within each and every one of you. We'll bow our chin towards our hearts as we say together, Namaste. Such an honor to be here. If anyone would like to unmute, I'll be here for a few minutes to talk if anyone has questions. I want to thank Amanda and Amy and Marist College for having me today. I'm truly honored. I love to share my practice. And also, if anyone's interested in following me at Amber B Yoga, as Amanda mentioned, and also I'm starting a 200-hour teacher training certification program online in the fall at Wild Hearts Yoga School on Instagram. If anyone's interested in training virtually, I have a great team of guest teachers, and I'm really excited to get that journey going for people. So please reach out. Thank you so much. I'm just reading the chat.
Thank you, Amber. This was great. Just for everyone who's still on, I know a couple people logged off. The recording will be available. We'll send it out to you guys via email, and we'll also put it on YouTube and our website if anyone's looking for it. And yeah, just thank you everyone for spending your Friday morning with us. As Amber said, she'll be here for another minute if anyone has any final questions or comments.
Yeah, thank you everyone so much. Have a beautiful weekend, and reach out if you need anything, okay?